Take problem number 14 in house property income. See, some last few classes we are solving the problem on house property. See, so far we solved the problem if one property is given, how to calculate income from that property. Whereas now we have taken the property that comprises of two units, right? Mr. X is the owner of two houses, and this is not one single property. This is he is the owner of two property. See, you know very well. House owner is permitted to use the house for his own occupation. Previously it was one self-occupied property was permitted. Now we can have two self-occupied property. But at the same time, if the two properties on that one property is used for self-occupation, another one property is specifically given as let out for a rent, then we have to go accordingly, right? So in this question, Mr. X is the owner of two houses. One one house is used for his residence, and another one house is let out for a rent of 500 rupees per month. Now we have to calculate what is the income. See, in this property used for, that is the house used for own occupation, is taken as a self-occupied. No rent is fetched for that. No income is derived from that. So entire thing is 0. And the property which is let out for a rent of 500. So we have to take the rent is 6,000 rupees per annum. And also we are given with the point that municipal value for that let out property is 5,200. So we have to take municipal value and rent received, whichever is higher. 5,200 and 6,000, whichever is higher. 6,000 is the higher value, so that amount is taken as gross annual value. Please understand the concept. In previous problems, we had fair rental value, municipal value, standard rent, and rent received. Whereas in this case, we are given with only the municipal value, and the rent received is 6,000, municipal value is 5,200, whichever is higher is taken as gross annual value. And another one point, important point, if required, you please put a mark in your textbook. Municipal taxes for the entire unit is given as 600 rupees. So what we have to do, we should not take 300 and 300. We have to take that municipal tax for 600. Of course, no municipal tax can be claimed for self-occupied property, but for the let out property, that tax of 600 rupees, that cannot be fully claimed for the let out. And based on the values given, we have to take, that should be apportioned on the basis of 2:1, right? 2 times taken for the let out property and 1 time is taken for the self-occupied property. Why we are taking that 2:1? Because it is given that the values for that one is the municipal valuation for self-occupied property is 2,600 and municipal valuation for the let out property is 5,200. So based on that point, we have to take 2:1. 2 part taken for the let out property, 1 part is taken for self-occupied property. Please understand, if the specific condition is absent, municipal tax may also be apportioned on this way. Okay, so we are taking accordingly. Now net annual value for the let out property is 5,600, that we have taken. Then standard deduction, it is for all the let out property. We are permitted to claim let out property standard deduction for let out property. So that standard deduction at the rate of 30% is taken here, and interest on loan is given, and that is also on the basis of taken on the basis of 2:1. So the total amount of interest on loan is given, that one is apportioned on the basis of 2:1. 133 for the self-occupied and another one is 267 is for the let out property. Why? Because in interest on loan for repair, renovation, etc., can be considered for self-occupied property also. It is applicable for self-occupied property also. That is why we are taking the interest on loan. Now, we have to finalize the amount of income. Then for self-occupied, obviously it is loss of 133. And for letter of property, the total amount of income is 3653, right? It is a income, whereas self-occupied is obviously only loss we can get in self-occupied. Then final house property income for both self-occupied and let out property, if you take the final amount, then we are getting it as 3520. Then another one, in this question we are given with the income from the other sources, it is 20,000. When we are given with income from other sources or profit or salary like that, if any of the information is given along with the house property income, please mind it, that should also be considered for the purpose of ascertaining the total income. Why? Because if those informations are given in the question, normally you may be asked to disclose the final total income, right? Final taxable income. Of course, you cannot argue that 23,000 only we are getting, how it could be taxable. No, that is not the point. The point of understanding here required is the total income is supposed to be calculated on that income from a house property that comes to 3,520 plus other sources income is given, that should also be added along with this house property. Total amount that comes to 23,520. This is suggested one for essay type question, right? For examination, this may also be asked for section C type.